Hey y'all, welcome to Auntie Cakes Cooking. So we're just gonna get right into this video. So the first thing you want to do is get your flour, and everything's gonna be in the description box. The measurements and the ingredients, everything's gonna be in the description box. But basically what you want to do right now is you want to mix in all of your dry ingredients. So right here I have my yeast, and I'm using instant yeast. Next I'm going to be picking up the salt, and I'm just gonna pour it in there, and then we're gonna mix in everything. Those are all the dry ingredients, so we're just gonna mix in everything, make sure it's all good, and just incorporate it, because you know that's important. So after that, I'm gonna start mixing in the wet ingredients. So as you can see, I am picking up the milk, and I'm using whole milk for this recipe, but you can use any kind of milk that you want, and you can even use buttermilk, but right in this recipe I'm just using regular whole milk. Whole milk is actually like the best for making bread, and so yeah, just some simple whole milk will do the job. So just gonna stir in everything. It's gonna be sticky, and you know, with bread making, people, they use their hands, but like when you're beginning the process, you want to stir it in with like a whisk or something like that. So here I'm pouring in the sweetened condensed milk. I have a half a cup of that. So the sweet condensed milk is going to give it a very not a very, but a lightly sweet flavor to it, to the bread. The bread isn't going to be too sweet, but this is a honey butter bread, so it's going to be a little bit more sweeter than your regular bread. This is honey that I'm putting in. You can even be creative and like add in like syrup or something like that, but for this recipe we're using honey. I'm putting in my eggs. So as you can see, I'm just putting in my wet ingredients, and I'm still using my whisk. I'm not using my hands yet. Also, this is very important, just make sure your hands are washed. You know, sometimes, you know, you gotta remind some people, make sure your hands are clean, because when you're dealing with bread, it's really best to use your hands. I know a lot of people, they, you know, use gloves, and that's fine, but using your hands, especially when you're dealing with sticky dough, it's easier to rinse them off and all of that. So might as well just go ahead and use your hands. When you're using a whisk, you might have some of the batter, the dough, inside of the whisk. So just take like a spoon or a fork and take it out. And by this time, your dough should be, it's not going to be fully incorporated. You're still gonna have some dry parts and some parts that's, you know, more wet, but this is the part where you're going to go ahead and use your hands, and you are going to make sure that the dough, you know, it gets, you know, it starts to look like dough. So don't worry, it might not look like dough now, but it's gonna start looking like, you know, what you would expect. So just keep doing it. You're gonna do this for, you know, about maybe, let's just say 5 to 10 minutes. You're gonna be doing this, and your wrists might get a little tired, but you're gonna get there. So So now that we are done with kneading, we're going to take a bowl. You're going to lightly cover it with some olive oil. Then you're going to place the dough inside, and you're going to cover it with a towel and let it sit for an hour to 2 hours. Now that it's been 1 to 2 hours, your dough should have doubled in size. You're gonna punch out all of that air that's inside of that dough, because you don't really want any excess air inside of the dough. Now you're gonna take it outside of the bowl, and you're going to lightly flour your chopping board or whatever you're using, and you are going to continue to knead. Honestly, once you get all of your ingredients together, the whole process is basically kneading and then shaping it into what you want to shape it into. So we're gonna knead once again for maybe about 10 minutes. It's not gonna require as much kneading as the first time, but you're going to still, want to make sure, you are kneading it. When you don't knead it enough, problems tend to arise when you're making bread. So you want to make sure that you knead for at least 10 minutes, no matter what. So that's what this process is. As you can see here, I'm trying to roll it into a log shape, kind of, or an ovular shape, because I'm going to be doing a braided bread. And as I mentioned before, I'm going to do another video explaining how I do the braided bread, because in this video the demonstration is a little poor, and it is a step-by-step process. So I'm gonna do another video, and I'm gonna link it in the description box. But for now, I'm gonna speed through this process, and when you get to when you want to make this recipe, you can just go down to the link to the description box and see how the braided bread is done. And I will also do another type of bread design that you can do, which is easier than the braided bread, but I'm gonna demonstrate 2 different designs. So basically for this part, as you can see, I rolled out the 3 balls of dough into little, I guess you would say, like little logs almost. And this is to get the braiding effect. It's almost like braiding hair, but you're doing it with dough. So in this video I was a little sidetracked, but like as I said before, this demonstration is a little poor. It doesn't really show you exactly how it's done. So I do want to go through the process a little bit more, thoroughly. So I'm gonna do another video like I said before, but I'm gonna just speed through this process so you guys can just see what I do. So it's been 45 minutes, and what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to cover my bread with egg wash, which is basically 1 egg yolk and 1 tablespoon of milk. And you want to just cover all of the bread with the egg wash, and this is gonna give it color. It's gonna give it a nice crispy top, so that's very important. You'll notice a significant difference, if you miss out on the egg wash. So this is a very important step, and you want to, after you get that on, you want to put this in the oven at 350 for 30 to 35 minutes. Right here, I'm going to add in my glaze, which is a honey butter glaze. So I put 1/4 cup of butter melted, and I put I put 4 tablespoons of melted butter and 1/4 cup of honey, and I mixed it together, and I just spread it all over the bread, and I topped it with a little bit of salt to kind of balance off the sweetness. And I'm telling you, this is like, oh my gosh, it's so good. This glaze is so good. And if you have any left over, just use it as a dipping sauce or whatever to for your bread. Oh my gosh, it tastes so good. And I also plan on doing a video on making French toast with this kind of bread. So I'm not sure when I'm gonna post that, but just make sure that you're on the lookout for that, because I'm telling you, this is some of the best bread to make French toast with. So it's done. I thank you for making it this far in the video.